Okay, so now in this video we are going to talk about shape layers. So if you see over here, you will get this option called shapes layers over here, and if you click on it over here, there are five kind of shapes provided by After Effects: rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon, and star. Okay, so let's try rectangle, and whenever you're going to select the shape layer, you will get these two options: fill and stroke. Right now I'm going to choose red color for this, and you, by holding shift, you can create this kind of shape, and if you are not gonna hold shift, you can create this kind of shape. Okay, it's just a basic knowledge. By holding shift, you can create this kind of shape. Press Ctrl Alt Home to align that anchor point to the center. Go to the Align tab, align it horizontally, and then align it vertically. Now whenever you are going to shape, this contains this contain two options. One is transform and one is contains. Now in contains, you will find this rectangle one, and in rectangle one you will get all the properties which is related to rectangle. One thing you need to understand, that layer is different and shape is different. That's why if you see over here, this contain rectangle and the transform property is totally different. So the difference between is that this transform property is not for the shape layer shape, but this entire layer. So that's why if you see the rectangle, in rectangle over here you will get the different property from for transform over here, and over here you will get option as well which are very different. Okay, so this transform property is for this layer, and this transform property is for this shape which is over here. Now, for example, this contain this rectangle, and if I hit Control D over here, as you guys can see, we got another rectangle. Now, if I go to this rectangle one, and if I go over here, I can change the position of this rectangle. Similarly, if I go to the rectangle 2, I can go over here and I can change this position of this. But both of this rectangle are in one layer over here, which is the shape layer. And now if I go to the transform property and if I change the position, as you guys can see, they are changing the position of this layer, and this layer consists of these two rectangles. Okay, so keep in mind that. Okay, let's delete that, and we will create our another rectangle by holding shift, Control Alt Home, align tab, align it horizontally, align vertically. Okay, now if you go to the rectangle over here, you will get this option called rectangle path. Now in rectangle path, generally we get two options. One is size and one is roundness. Obviously from roundness name itself, you can adjust the roundness position option as well. Make it 0, and you can adjust the size. And in size, you will get this option called chain. If you uncheck this, you can adjust the size like this. Okay, so these are the basic properties. Similarly, you will get this option for stroke, and you will get this option for fill. From name itself, you can understand what is it. Right now we cannot see anything for the stroke properties because we haven't applied stroke over here. So what we can do, let's delete it, and this time I'm going to select my rectangle, and for the stroke I'm going to choose this blue color, and I can increase the stroke width to 40. And now by holding shift, if I create rectangle, I'll get something like this. Then I can go to the rectangle path, or I'll get different option. If I change the roundness, I'll get something like that. I can go to the stroke. I can animate this stroke over here. Similarly, I can change the color of the stroke over here like that. Even I can choose this taper option, so I'll get this kind of dash. If I go to the taper options over here, as you guys can see, we are getting this kind of weird stuff like that. Similarly, if I go to the wave, and I can change this value, etc. Okay, and let's delete this dash. As you guys can see, if I see this in full resolution, I'll get this kind of weird shape. Okay, so this is kind of a experiment portion. You have to experiment along with this to understand. Okay, like that. Same goes for this fill as well. You will get so many options. Now one thing that we need to understand over here is that if you select this shape layer, and you will get this option called fill and stroke, but if you click on this fill over here, they also provide 4 different options. One is obviously none. For example, you don't want any fill, simply click on it. If you want to create a solid layer, simply click over here. But if you click on this gradient over here, you can choose that. Similarly, if you want radial gradient, you can choose that as well. I can choose linear gradient and hit OK, and then if I click over here, I'll get different options. Like from here I can decide what color I want. Over here I can decide different color. Similarly, over here I can increase the opacity of it, like that. And I can add extra colors as well, like that. If I don't want, I can delete that. Over here I can choose different layers and hit OK. And after doing that, if I click on this portion, which is selection tool, I'll get this option over here like this. And with the help of this anchors, I can adjust the points. So sometimes what happens that we deselect by chance and I cannot see those options again. So that time what you can do, simply go inside this rectangle over here and make sure this generative fill, click on it, then you will get this handles again, and you can adjust this handles over here. Similarly, if you see, there is the point which is start angle and this is the end angle. Okay, so these are the options of generative fill. Similarly, same procedure for this radial gradient as well. You will get these options over here and you can adjust according to your needs. Okay, so these are the properties of shape layers, like that. Okay, now according to if you see properly, according to this rule, which is a gradient, you will find the same options for this stroke as well, so you can try to do that. Okay, so now we have learned about the properties of shape layers, and over here you will get same properties for ellipse tool, similarly for polygon tool, etc. Okay, for example, if I choose polygon tool and if I try to create this, and if I go to the polystar over here, you will get the same gradient fill, but in polypath 1 over here you will get different option, like how much polygons you want to point you want to create. Similarly, in type option you will get this star, etc. Okay, so you can play around with these options like the way you want. Similarly, you will get this extra star tool like this. Same structure, you can go to the polystar path, you can choose different options and you can play around with this value. Okay, so these are the properties of shape layers inside of After Effects.